Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is David Novak. This will be a slow discursive chat, but I will try not to go over long with it. Today I watched a video by Gareth at Books, Songs, and Other Magic titled, "Is BookTube Worth It?" And that's a question I have been asking myself lately. His video is not the only video that I've been thinking about. And so I'm also thinking about a video that Michael K. Vaughan put up just yesterday, possibly, how BookTube changed my stupid life. It changed it positively. But there was also a sort of a comeback video by Drunzo, who was one of the first booktubers I was watching before I even possibly knew that there was such a thing as BookTube, which he called Baseline. And he's coming back after something of a hiatus and trying to set some terms about what he wants his channel to be about. He talks about some of the pitfalls that he encountered in having a very popular channel at times, beyond his expectations. And then the video that Gareth posted was a response to one by MJ at Reading This Life. I got discouraged and thought about leaving BookTube. So both her title and Gareth's are ones that have resonated with me lately. And I'm not really of a mind to make any hard conclusions about anything yet, but I have been thinking about these things. Before that, let me just show you this book that I got. A few days ago, it must be like 5 days ago now, I had a video up that drew a fair amount of traffic for my channel. There was a lot of discussion in the comments section, and one viewer recommended this book to me, and it sounded interesting, so I ordered it. I did not expect it to be in the box when I went out to check this evening, but there it was. So that is one of the positives for me about BookTube. I've discovered new books that I liked very much through watching BookTubers, but this may well be one of the first times that I've picked up a book based on a recommendation. Now, the book that video was about was also a recommendation by a person who views my channel, but I don't recall that he specifically recommended it on my channel. He mentioned it in a couple of places, so I'm not sure about that. But also from the conversation about that 5 day ago video, I have on order another book. And that's an entirely positive aspect of BookTube. Finding out about books that you hadn't heard of before. So if it were all rosy, there would be nothing else to say. But I've found that to a degree, I'm in the midst of reading 4 books right now. To a degree, watching a lot of BookTube can interfere with your reading time. And so that's a balance which I am not sure how to deal with. Of course, making videos can do the same. However, my channel is fairly low-key, patterned, if anything, on the style that Steve Donahue runs. So if I make a video that's 10 minutes long, that's about the time that went into the production of that video. Sometimes there's a little bit of effort to set up the camera in a way where it won't get knocked over by a cat. In this case, I went into a place where I have no cats at the moment, so that problem was solved rather easily. But well, you know, somebody in that comments thing had said to me, let's see if I can find it. Let me get this right. You decided to spend your time making a video and uploading it to YouTube to let the world know you're not motivated to read a given book because you don't like it. That's what that video was about. I was talking about a book that I had decided to put off at least for a while, and then talked about my reasons. But for me, I have the book in hand. I'm going to be having thoughts, and I thought, well, why not flip on the camera and voice my thoughts? So it's not really a huge effort. I don't put a lot of editing into the videos. I don't know how to put the book covers up, and I don't intersperse other footage. And if I make a mistake or something, perhaps I will cut that out. But YouTube makes that very easy to do. So it really does not take a lot of time. I'm just looking at some of these comments. Your lack of knowledge and dismissal of huge movements. Which I think points to what has brought up some of these thoughts, which is for a while that video was very unpopular. The likes were overwhelming. I mean, the dislikes were overwhelming the likes. I think where it closed off, the likes were ahead by half a percentage point or something like that. But while I got a couple of good book recommendations out of all the traffic that video received, I did find answering the comments an awful lot of work. And so I understand that everybody wants their channel to expand. People are continually talking about the algorithm and how to tilt the algorithm in your favor, which are thoughts I haven't given much thought to. But in my case, the prospect of having more traffic than just merely a small handful of views is daunting. Drunzo talks about that. But one other thing that came out of this was I realized that, I started the channel in August of 2020, I believe it was, as a means of, I initially I wanted to tweet a video. And then, having established the YouTube account, I decided to just occupy myself posting videos of me reading poems. And that was to distract me from the presidential election then underway between Biden and Trump. Of course, we have another one underway as I speak. So it served that purpose. And then at the time of the insurrection attempt, I think I did a poem about Ashley Babbitt, who was one of the people breaking into the Capitol. We don't know if she was intending to kill anybody, but she was with that mob. And that actually was a video that got a fair amount of traffic. But then at that point, I decided to let the channel go to sleep. And then last year, in March, I think, something like that, I'd have to check to be sure, I decided to start it up again and try my hand at being a booktuber. Because at that time, I started watching BookTube videos, not really knowing that BookTube was a thing. But I gradually found more channels that I liked where people talked about books. So last March, I decided to see if that would work for me. And so for me, it has been an open-ended project, but I'm thinking now that it probably is a good idea for me to set a tentative termination date. And I don't know if it should be in August, when it will be a complete 4 years since I opened it up. But I'm thinking more that I should utilize the channel once again to distract me a little bit from the presidential election shenanigans, if we have those, and of course from the insurrection or coup shenanigans, if we have those. And then stop again sometimes around January 6th. That would give me a chance to do a year-end wrap-up. But I'm inclined to think that I should give it a definite prospective end point. And so that's really what I'm thinking of. I've talked in another video somewhere about how when I was young, I had jobs all the time and I wouldn't work in a place for longer than 6 months. And actually, many of them were much longer than that. In those days, you could quit a job and you could get another one, or I worked at a temp agency. And so I had so many different jobs, and I always liked ending things. The end of a job was always a wonderful feeling. I mean, even in those situations where you got let go or you got fired, ending a job is a wonderful feeling, at least with the jobs I was in, with the notion that I could find another one. I think things have perhaps tightened up in these days, so it's not to say I never felt stress, but along with the stress, there was always that good feeling. And I've even felt that to a degree about personal relationships, good or bad. If you're wavering, well, when the relationship ends, that's the end of it, and it's fine. That's the way life is. So I really like ending things. The great poet said, "Ends are beginnings with their hats on." And I've always liked that statement. So when you end something, of course, when you close one door, another door opens up, so to speak, to put it in a cliched way. So that's what I'm thinking with this channel. I know that really the ideal, I guess, is that you're supposed to wish for your channel to keep expanding, keep expanding, keep expanding ad infinitum. But to me, that's a little too closely akin to the way the economy works in John Kenneth Galbraith's book, The New Industrial State, which I closed out last year's reading with. This ever-increasing expansion of viewers, of whatnot, I don't really see a utility in that for myself. And so for me, it's still an experimental project. I'm, excuse me, I'm trying to read more and then talk a little bit about what I read. It gives me a place to do that. You know, the that same person said to me, what was it? Somebody liked that liked that I knew who Ezra Pound was. That was nice. What makes you think the world should care what you think at all, much less what you think about something you refuse to engage? What audacity. Well, that viewer had come back and asked that question a second or a third time after I had already answered it. I had made it pretty clear that having devoted my life to poetry, I did not expect the world to care. And if you go around YouTube, you'll see people all over the place making little videos of, you know, how I file my fingernail, whatever. It's not that people are expecting the world to care. It's just people feel like expressing something, and so they make a video about it. As I said before, when it comes to something about a book, thoughts are going to be flitting through my head regardless. And so if I decide to turn on the camera for a second and just put air to those words, well, it's no skin off my teeth, and possibly one or two people will find it of interest to them. You never know. You know, Don Marquis referred to writing poetry as like dropping a feather into the Grand Canyon and waiting for an echo. And that is indeed what poetry is like. I have here and there run into a person who has been a reader of my poetry, and that's always gratifying. But overall, it is exactly the situation which he described. And so if that is what YouTube is like, I am content with that. Of course, another metaphor would be the proverbial message in a bottle. You put a message into a bottle and toss it into the sea. You don't expect to get a reply. You don't expect the world is going to care about your little message in the bottle. Possibly someday somebody will see it, and that's all you can go with. So I've also thought that idea of what audacity to excuse me. Let's see if there was something else I wanted to say. Yeah, there was. What audacity? It really does not take much audacity to turn on a iPad or an iPhone or whatever kind of device you have, and then talk for a minute or two and then upload it. It really doesn't. When I was starting to write poetry, I thought, yeah, this takes some audacity, perhaps. But I learned soon enough that it did not. Um, one commenter said, "Read some Hegel and get over yourself." I asked for recommendations about Hegel, and he did not respond to that. I haven't read any Hegel, but get over yourself. I think about that as well, and I think it's kind of a bad idea. I looked up Hegel briefly, and he said somewhere that there is a statement people make, which is the stupidest statement anybody could make. Think for yourself. He said, nobody can think for another person. Of course, we do routinely say that, think for yourself, and we mean something by it, which is very reasonable. But the idea of get over yourself, I don't find so reasonable. We are given this one life, and in my case, if I live for 10 more years, I would consider that lucky. But whatever it is, we have this one life, and once we die, then we are over it. We are over ourselves. But while we are still living and breathing, why not sink into the inscape of ourselves, so to speak, to use a phrase from Gerard Manley Hopkins. I think it was the Chinese philosopher Chuang Tzu, I don't know exactly how you say it, but said, that turtle wallowing in the mud would rather be a turtle wallowing in the mud, than to be in somebody's turtle soup, I suppose. So while we have this precious gift of being alive, you might as well sink into being yourself. It's hard for me to see what is to be gained by trying to be like another person or trying to be a person whom I am not. So get over yourself is not something I propose to do. And then the other aspect of it was this notion of what audacity to do something so simple as this. Well, to a certain extent, I suppose just being alive does require audacity. When you have nothing else, then you have to rely upon audacity. So if this is audacity, more power to it. I mean, as Cyrano de Bergerac might have said, what else have I got but my audacity? Or as he would have said, now I can't remember the word, what was it? Well, you will have to go look up the end of that play because I am having a mind fart, as they say. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.